Thanks, Philip, and welcome everyone. I know we're a little bit of a sideshow to the players and what have you, but we did just want to take the opportunity to make a couple of comments about the series coming up and I guess the next few days, and appreciate a couple of the comments that I might make would ideally make it into the local newspapers, particularly around the crowds tomorrow. We're expecting a really good crowd. It's the first time in a little while that with the Brisbane Test matches started on a Friday, which means it will go well and truly into the weekend. We're expecting a very good crowd tomorrow. I think that the record ever at the Gabba for a day of Test cricket is 39,000. And for a non-Ashes series, the record's 21,000, and we're very hopeful that weather permitting will exceed that tomorrow, and perhaps exceed that during the weekend as well. I just want to note that it would be great for people who do want to see the first ball, and I remember having an uncle that used to take me to the cricket, and he was a bit tardy in the morning, and it was a source of great disappointment to me that we never got to see the first ball of a Test match because he was always taking me there. So if people do want to see the first ball, I know in Brisbane people are notoriously late to the game. There's a bit of a rush at the end of just on start time. The gates open at 8:30, and the first ball's bowled at 10. There are some things that you can do to your advantage. Obviously, prepaying tickets is one thing, and ticket prices are actually lower for those that pre-book. It is great value, and as I said earlier on, the Test match goes over the weekend, and we would hope to see lots of kids and families over the course of the weekend. We're really pleased that South Africa is playing here in Brisbane, as we heard earlier on, first time in nearly 50 years. And it's the start of 3 really big years up here at the Gabba. Good crowds here in Queensland are great for Queensland cricket. It's great for the Queensland economy, and with an Ashes series coming up next year and a World Cup the following year, we're looking forward to working with the Queensland government to ensure events here at the Gabba are a great success, and I'm sure this weekend will be the start of that. And finally, just to all of you, the media, wish you all well for the season ahead. I know it's well and truly started for you, and I know also, predicting the future, that we won't necessarily agree on every little bit of detail that you print over the course of the summer, but I want you to know and understand that we appreciate the work that you do in feeding our fans the news about the game that they so want to hear and read about, and I guess we're looking forward to supporting you over the course of the summer in the best possible way we can. And I'd like to think that over the last couple of weeks you've seen or you've had greater access to Australian cricket and Australian cricketers than you've experienced before, and that's a message that we're hearing loud and clear, and we're doing our best to support you in your role. So I wish you all well, and look forward to seeing you around during the weekend and, of course, through the summer. Thanks.
Well, James, can we have our first disagreement? Cricket administrators are often, I haven't seen it used for a while, thank goodness, but there was a lot of talk about the primacy of Test cricket, and a lot of us on this side of the fence are quite cynical about that, because it just looks like there's a lot of compromises being made. Do administrators have to admit, and do the public have to accept, that cricket is just a game of compromise, and that the primacy of Test cricket is a fallacy?
I think the first thing is that Test cricket is not the only thing. So if Test cricket was the only thing, there would be no compromise. But it's clearly not the only thing, and therefore there's a balancing act that needs to occur, and that's what we see, and there will always be conjecture and judgment on whether that balance is right or not, and people will weigh that up in a different way according to which side of the fence they sit on or where they have views, but and what format of the game that they hold most dear and how they weight that. So we're doing our best in that. That is very much a judgment game and a call that we need to make along the way. But I'm very comfortable with the balance we're striking at the moment, and it's not the time and the place, but I'm very happy to have a more detailed discussion with people about the challenges that we have in keeping that balance and finding that balance. But we're very clear in terms of a team performance sense about the importance of Test cricket as being our number one in terms of Australian team performance, and that's the thing that we will make the most sacrifices for.
Because it looks like this Test series, which is a really big Test series, has been compromised because of the Champions League.
Okay, so that may be so, and there's an element of balance and compromise in all of that. That's true, but both countries that are playing in this Test series are in the same boat. They've both had the same preparation. So from an Australian cricket viewpoint, Australian cricket team viewpoint, we're in the same boat as our opponents, and in the circumstances are doing the best we can. But there is that balance, and I think we all know and understand that this year was a little bit different with the Champions League because it was 3 or 4 weeks later than it was or has been in the past by virtue of the World 2020 being played in late September.
James, the issues in Western Australia, are they of a concern to you, and has Cricket Australia played any role in what's happening over there?
Certainly a concern, but they are a matter for the West Australian Cricket Association in terms of working through that. Western Australian players are players of... There are obviously numerous players that are players of national interest, but the good thing about the working relationship between the WACA and Cricket Australia is that there are open lines of communications between Christina Matthews and Pat Howard in particular on these sorts of things, and I'm sure that collectively some solutions can be found, and I actually see these sort of things as a positive, as in a positive because it provides a rude awakening, if you like, for people to act and make decisions that will see teams and organisations better for what comes out of it.
James, being from Brisbane, I think it's bloody fabulous that South Africa are here, and we've got a good test to start the summer. But throwing forward this summer, there's some concerns. I guess there must be around those the Boxing Day and New Year's test with Sri Lanka here. I mean, they're not a great crowd puller, and having those prime tests, with Sri Lanka playing them, there might be a few downtimes. Do you sort of think like?
You want to tell 100,000 Sri Lankan fans in Melbourne that, Ben? I've got no worries about test matches in Melbourne and Sydney. They'll be fine. Test cricket, it's a great time for Test cricket, and Sri Lankans are extremely well. The Sri Lankan team is extremely well supported in both Melbourne and Sydney. We'll have great crowds there. We might not break records, but we'll have great crowds.
Has something changed at board level, as Michael Clarke alluded to before, about not needing to name an official vice-captain? Or it seems unusual for an Australian team not to go into it.
Look, we have had discussions about this, and I guess the feeling has been, and this has come through the selection panel, that they didn't feel that there was a need to appoint a vice captain, given that Shane is the nominated vice captain. I think it's reasonably obvious who the nominal vice captain would be if Michael went off the ground. But the selectors gave feedback to the board, and it was decided that it wasn't necessary, and it may well only confuse things to be looking for someone to appoint as a vice captain, because people might make presumptions about that appointment.
So is that Ricky, is it?
Yep. Well, I mean, ultimately that's a decision for Michael, so I wouldn't want to say that, but I think that would be what the understanding is.
Just wanted to check that dinner last night with Ben Dorries was good, and did you forget the document deliberately that he had?
It's been a long time since I've had dinner with Ben, but I think he owes us one now.
On a serious note, is it of any concern from an administration point of view that sort of material is out there?
No, well, I read through that, and there are things that I thought, well, everyone knows that, and there are things in there that I read that thought, well, I'd do the complete opposite to that. So I think there's some fun and games in all of that, and that's sport. And listening to Graham just now, he seems reasonably unflustered by that.
A lot of movement over in WA, a change of coach coming up, a lot of conjecture that Justin Langer's the man in line for that. Are you able to shed any light on whether he's going to continue with the Australian team?
I can't shed any light as to the status of any discussions that he might be having with Western Australia, but he's clearly doing a great job with the Australian team. And so if it was to be that he was to look to greener pastures, so to speak, then that would be a loss for us. But at the same time, it wouldn't be a loss for Australian cricket, because I'm sure he would do a fantastic job in that role, and it would be a great career step for him. So it is speculating a little bit, but if it did come down the track to that, and they did find a way to agree to put Justin on, then we wouldn't have any problem in releasing him from his contract, and it would create a short-term issue for us to work through, but it'll be a good thing for Australian cricket and Western Australian cricket.
James, just I guess further on the scheduling issue, wouldn't you concede that most fans would like to see this series than the battle for the world's #1 spot as maybe Cricket Australia would too, as a 5-test series rather than 3?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true and a fair observation. I think most people in the room will understand the background to why it isn't a 5-test match series, and the reality of international programming is such that when you're playing against teams that share the same season as us, it's very difficult to play more than 3 test matches against that team, because both teams want to maximise their opportunities of playing in their peak summer season. So we've certainly been through that, both in terms of having South Africa play in Australia in Boxing Day, New Year's test matches, but also the question of playing a longer series. I think fans would appreciate that, but there are other things that have happened with international programming with South Africa that I think are real positives. We've previously had the tours back to back, and what that's meant is that everyone's played, South Africa and Australia have played a lot of cricket against each other in a short space of time, and then had to wait 4 years before they've played each other. And the design of the program now is such that Australia plays South Africa every year, either in Test cricket or one-day cricket, and either home or away. And I think that's great for cricket fans, both here in Australia and in South Africa as well.
Considering the dossier, we don't know how it was leaked, but obviously the author was perhaps former South African coach, and having him in charge of Australia now, it's quite a bit of clever forward thinking, because to have him in charge of Australia, and do you hope to get a return on your money over this 3-test series, perhaps, or his inside knowledge?
Well, yeah, he's obviously got a bit of inside knowledge, but as Michael said this well when he spoke to you earlier on. I mean, it all comes down to the players, all of that background and what have you. They've got to deal with whoever it is bowling the ball to them, and they've got to respond to that. But Mickey Arthur's been fantastic. He's been a great addition to our setup, and we're really looking forward to this series. And I don't think there's a more nervous man than Mickey Arthur. This is his ashes, as he calls it. So he's been looking forward to it for a long time.